Okay, so I'm traveling through an area that is one of my experiencer areas. And mind you, it's been a while since I've had an experience, probably a good year or so. And in driving through this area, it made me kind of think of some of my other favorites. And a lot of them I haven't really spoken about. So in no particular order, I'm just going to share this because I don't really have anything else going on but traveling. And why not share some stories? So in this particular case, I was with my husband. We were traveling on a motorcycle, and we were headed home from Salt Lake City, and we were traveling through Strawberry Reservoir. Yeah. And as we were coming down through Daniel's Summit, and it was a beautiful day. I mean, it was truly a beautiful day. And, you know, when you're sitting on the back of a motorcycle going 75 miles an hour, you know, all you can really do is look around anyway. You're just observing the nature and taking in the experience. And I remember just looking to my left, and you know, to the right of us was the lake, and to the left is a hillside. And I look over, and it's blue sky, and over the hill comes this there's something that kind of catches my eye, and I'm watching it, and obviously I can only, you know, kind of look around and peek as much as I possibly can as we're passing these hills. And it starts to become a little more clear to me as I'm able to find it, that there's this donut-shaped object that came up really low over the hillside, and then was just right above us. And I know other people had to have seen it. I mean, there were people behind us, there were people in front of us. And as blue as the sky was, I mean, if you didn't already see that it was there, then it would be hard to find it, like if you didn't see it come over, because it wasn't like this massive white or silver round donut shape that was big and obvious. It just happened to come up over and catch my eye because I was observing, I suppose. And I watched it for a little bit, and then I realized it was, you know, right above us. And so I was able to get my phone out and try to record straight above me with my phone going as fast as we were. And I watched it for a while, and at that point, I mean, I had been seeing crafts, you know, off and on for several years, since 2019. And so I'm used to the whole hurry up and grab it so that you can catch it before it's gone, because most of my sightings, 99% of my sightings, have all been during the daytime, and it happens to be during the time when it's a clear day. And so it's hard to, you know, usually you get 5 to 7 seconds, so it's really hard to see it, articulate it, process it, find your device to begin recording it if you can lock onto it, and before it's totally gone. So in this case, I did watch it for a minute because it was so unique, and in my mind I thought, I'm not gonna record. I mean, there came a point where I really did stop filming all of them because it was daily for so many years, and I just because again, how hard it was to capture for 5 to 7 seconds. A lot of times it just wasn't worth it. Because I'm also usually traveling. You know, when you're traveling, you're looking out the window and you're just taking in the scenery. So anyway, I get to a point where Aaron is aware of what I'm doing, and he's able to see it, and we finally get an opportunity to pull over and stop, because I said this thing has been literally following us. It's weaving through the switchbacks. It's following us, and I've been recording for 30 minutes now. So we end up pulling over at a little rest stop area, and I record it for a little bit longer, just enough to like confirm what I'm seeing. I take some zoom in, zoom out, and then we, you know, eventually get back on the bike, because I'm like, I really don't know what it is. He doesn't know what it is. And, you know, we'd already been traveling for a while, and we had to get home. That was, I think, the reason why we didn't stay longer, is that at that point we were going to start to lose some daylight, and driving on a motorcycle in the nighttime is not super fun in an area that has a lot of animals. So that was one of the main reasons that we didn't stay and watch until it left. But when we got back on the road, it was maybe 15 more minutes, and it did kind of back off. And eventually as the sun was going down, it was gone. So that was so interesting to me, that particular one. And then another favorite that I have had is the craft that I had seen after teaching Reiki to a couple of my students, and we were in La Pointe Park, and we had spent 2 days. We were there in my mobile wellness bus, and as we were doing the Reiki class, I had just finished our second day together, and they had gone home, and I was taking notes and doing my own reflection. And about an hour after they had left, I was starting, I'm packing up to head home, and I was driving into kind of the setting sun, and it was beautiful. The sun had gone down. It was November, so it's pretty early when the sun goes down. I want to say it would have been about 5:30 maybe, between 4:30 and 5:30. But the sun had gone down, and the sky had this really pretty, orangey glow. Something about the Uinta Basin sunsets are just magnificent. And I remember noticing this object for a few minutes, and again, it caught my eye. And I'm driving the bus, and so it's really loud, and it's definitely much harder to get your device, your recorder, your phone, to begin recording as soon as possible. And because of the fact that I had seen it, I'm kind of trying to find it between the hills. It was in the trees, because it was very, very low. And I'd never seen anything like that. So I was watching before I ever even thought to begin recording. I didn't really understand what I was seeing, because this was a craft that was completely different than any of the other ones I had seen before. And so I watched for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and realized at that point that it wasn't going away. It wasn't flying away. It wasn't even moving. It was just in it was just there in one spot. And so it was at that point that I reached to grab my phone, and I started to record. And as I was recording, I realized that this was something quite unique. So I had to find a spot that I could pull over, because it really wasn't going anywhere. This was there for many, many minutes. So the usual 5 to 7 seconds had obviously passed at that point. So when I found a safe enough place for me to pull the bus over, I could still see it just barely above the tree line. And I filmed it for about 9 to 10 minutes, and then it was gone. And it was so interesting, because how I saw it in the beginning was this huge dome, and it was just still. And I thought maybe something rational was there, and I thought, well, maybe it's the mountain, or maybe somebody's, I don't know. Your brain is trying to make sense of stuff that doesn't make sense. And so you get to the point when your brain is telling you that that's not a normal thing that you see every day. Then you start to, kind of engage and go, okay, we need to do something about it. So, as I remember seeing that thing I watched it until it faded into the sky, and then it didn't fly away. There was no illumination. It was like something parked in the sky, and it didn't move at all. And so my thought is maybe something, like as the sun was going down, it was reflecting off of something that was just like not meant to be seen. And as it got dark, that light shifted, and you went from this dome shape to a triangular shape to several triangular shapes, and then it faded into where it completely faded into the sky, like it had cloaking kind of thing. So it was very interesting. So then I remember, for whatever reason, I'm trying to go through the video, and I'm sliding back and forth on the video just to see where I can pause it. And that is when I noticed that it morphed, like the shape of it had morphed. So it went from the beginning stages of this dome-shaped object to a triangular shaped object. And had I not had it kind of in that fast forward mode, I wouldn't have noticed that. I really wouldn't have. I mean, maybe, but so I ended up sending that one off to some friends that work in production and asked them if they could stabilize it to see if it ever moved, and to see if it really did change shape like I was thinking that it was, or that I, through my own video could see. And when I sped it up, and sure enough, they sent it back and they said that was so crazy. And having it fast forwarded, or sped up rather, and then stabilized so that you can see that it truly didn't move, but the shape moved, was wild. And I have never caught anything like that since. And it is truly one of the ones that other really famous people that study UAPs and UFOs have really thought of as a head scratcher, because they have zero idea of what could have caused that. They have no idea. So that one is one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is after having my experience in 2019. It was shortly after the whole doctor's office experience and the MRI and the whole, that's a whole narrative. But I remember it being the last couple days of school, and so I was starting to be able to get some of my faculties back after my first experience and what it had done to me. And so I was riding a bicycle with some of my students, and I remember looking up in the sky with them, and I had, because again, something caught my eye. There was this flash, again, beautiful blue day, sunshine, and I remember seeing this large sphere, just same thing. It was just parked there. It was just sitting there. It wasn't moving. It wasn't floating. It wasn't going up or down or side to side. It was just sitting there. And I stopped and I watched it for a minute. And again, I grabbed my phone, and my phone had about half of a battery, half of like 50%. And I went to start recording, and at this point, it was maybe the second or third time. This might have been the third time that I had seen something since that initial experience. So I was really like trying to be on the ball with it and with capturing. And I remember asking my students, so I started filming, and it instantly started draining my battery. Like I had that 50% battery, and then it's going down to 40%, and then 30%. And in the video, I'm like, hey, you guys, so the screen starts to dim because my battery's dying. So I have a hard time trying to see it in the camera, but I'm trying to capture something. And in the video, you hear me ask the students, what is that? And there's a girl that's like, oh, it's a plane, or it's a whatever. And I'm like, it's not a plane, it's round, and it's not moving, it's not flying. And they're like, oh, look, it's a UFO. And then that was it. And then the phone dies. But I remember after seeing that, I remember there were two ladies sitting across from where we had stopped for just a moment, and they were outside on the grass. And I remember asking them, I said, hey, do you guys see that up in the sky? Because again, this was very, very new that I had been having this experience or seeing these crafts. And so I hadn't told anybody outside of my family. Like I was very nervous about it, and everybody at work had known, like because of my injury, but I didn't go into a lot of detail other than there was something that happened because I saw something in the sky. Anyway, so at that point I knew when those ladies, they just had looked at it and they were like, oh yeah, and just went about their conversation. And I thought, this is the wildest thing that I have ever experienced. Like, nobody is freaking out right now? Like, what do they think it is? And then I watched it, and it did the same thing. It disappeared. It actually didn't even disappear. There was this puff of cloud that started to, with the weather, kind of move through, and this cloud just went in front of it, and then it was gone as it passed through. So I was really, that one, having not only witnesses but multiple witnesses, and having adults that, like, why are these people so unfazed by something so crazy that this thing didn't take off? It wasn't zipping around. All it was doing was just sitting there. But that's not normal for some large, round, silver object to be sitting in the air and not doing anything other than what appeared to be like just observing. So yeah, that's a favorite. Okay, and so those are three of some of my favorite experiences with craft outside of my initial experience that I've shared multiple times that really caused a lot of neurological, and so it caused a neurological injury and changed my immune system. Oh, here's my next one. Sorry, I had to pause for fuel, and it kind of threw me off my thought pattern. Okay, so another experience that I have had. Now, this is more on the cryptid end, I'd say. So we have a few experiences with strange things, I suppose. We have a lot of those strange things, but so there was one time which one do I want to share? There's so many that it just popped up right now. Okay, so after 2019, I had gone, so it was February that I had my experience that I met, who I met. I'm not gonna go into the spiritual side of that, but then there was so that whole year was wild. So then it went to July, end of July, 4th of July actually, 4th of July weekend, we went to Flaming Gorge, we went boating. It was to also celebrate my husband's birthday, so it was a long weekend, and it was a lot of fun. We had such a blast, and so this was 3 months after my my first sighting and my experience, but we came home. And when we came home, the first thing that I went to do was I went to get some water for the dogs. So I went to turn the hose on, and so I went up to our porch. I put my purse down on the edge of the porch, and then I ran to the side of the house, turned the hose on, and ran back. So I was gone maybe, nobody had even gone inside yet. I was gone maybe 45 seconds from the time that I jumped out of the car and went and put my bag down on the porch, went around to get the hose, and came back. And so nobody else had gotten out either. And when I came back from grabbing the hose, I came back around. When I came back around, I noticed that there was a pin right where I was just at. Now, I know that you're like, what does that mean? So a pen, somebody dropped a pen. No. I was just there, and there was not a pen there. 1. 2, the pen is not a pen that anybody, I'm the pen buyer. I'm the supply buyer of our home. And as a teacher, I typically don't buy click pens for students or anything like that, because you just hit and click, 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 click. And so there's specific pens at the time that I purchased for school, because I wanted to make sure that the pens were, like I said, I liked a fine pen, and it was a specific brand. And anyway, so I'm watering my flowers at that point, and everybody's starting to come in, but I was looking at this pen, and I was so perplexed, because that was not there 30, 45 seconds prior. And something about, it was weird. It was so weird, and I wasn't trying to make something out of it, but it was weird. And so I ended up trying to figure out, like, what is it that, how can I see if somebody came by. And then I remember my Ring camera. So the Ring camera had shown me kind of come up to the side to drop my bag, and then the next, which should have been consecutive, the next thing that recorded was 40 seconds of just black. There was no sound, there was no audio, it was just 40 seconds recorded. And that's interesting because Ring itself, it only, when it picks up motion, only records for 30 seconds. Unless you turn it on, you can activate it for up to, I think, 10 minutes. But at that point, and that was later down the evening, that I'm like, something is going on. I don't want to bring this pen in the house. I don't know. I feel like this just got here from some strange way. And I can't make sense of it. And still to this day, it's hard to even process, to even speak the story, because it doesn't make sense. I live in the middle of nowhere. We had been gone for four days, and where we live, we don't get people that come over to our house. Our neighbors do not come over, and I was the first one to come and put my stuff down before anybody else even came around. So even if something came out of my bag, it wouldn't have been that pen, because I don't own or have had pens like that. So I picked it up, and I left it outside for a while because I was nervous about taking it inside, because something about it was like, I feel like this is a spy pen. I feel like this traveled, through weird wormholes or something. And again, this was not my mentality. It was so new into the experience of otherworldly things that my brain could not process. And but then having the validation of showing that between me getting home and me coming back with the hose, and there being a 40-second clip that recorded